Hi there, and thank you for joining me today as we take a look at ADHD, understanding students that have ADHD or could be diagnosed with that. My name is Larry Gazaway, and this is my assignment, so thank you so much for joining me this morning. Let's begin first with what is Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, or ADHD. What you'll see on screen, that is the definition according to the CDC. I wanted to break it down a little bit easier, a little bit more basic. It is a disorder, even though we have read not looking at it as a disorder, but it is defined as a disorder, an ongoing pattern of hyperactivity, impulsivity, or inattention. Now that all must interfere with functioning or development. So that all works into education when we take a look at the definition of ADHD. Now, according to IDEA, and I'm going to move my webcam up just a little bit so you can see what we've got listed on the screen here. When we take a look at the IDEA Act, the Individuals with Disabilities Act, we will not find ADHD listed anywhere in that act. Instead, it's listed under other health impairments. That means limited strength, vitality, or alertness that adversely affects the student's progress in school. Now, we know because of the definition that this does interfere with functioning and development, especially when it comes to education. When you have been diagnosed or suspected to have ADHD. Now, the next question is, how many students have ADHD? And that's a pretty tough question to answer. If you look at a lot of different places, it averages out to about 10% of the students have ADHD. There's 50.7 million students that attend school, K through 12, in the United States, and over 5 million of those students have ADHD. Now, let's break that down into your classroom. You have 20 kids, 22 kids in your classroom. You're going to have 2 to 3 children inside your classroom that could be or have ADHD. So we need to learn how to educate these kids. We need to learn how to, more importantly, include them in everything that is going on inside of our classroom. Now, the estimated number of kids in the United States that have ADHD, you can see here it has grown over the years. The numbers start, according to the CDC, back in 2003. 4.4 million students were diagnosed with ADHD. That has increased as we become more aware of it, as it increased throughout the years. Now, in 2016, we did see a drop, and that was because the CDC started using different numbers to count the diagnosis of ADHD. So it did change, but we continue to see a rise in the cases of ADHD in the American school students. So let's take a look at why we are seeing that increase. And I'll move my picture again here. We are seeing that because this, according to a great article in the Washington Post from Bluth back in 2018, we're seeing an increased focus on ADHD. We know that when children come into the classroom, when we see the hyperactivity, and this is important because we'll talk about this later. When we see the hyperactivity from these students, we'll immediately begin to think of ADHD. There's a greater awareness of this problem, of this diagnosis. A couple of things I didn't even think about while I was reading the text is the survival rate of preterm and low-weight babies. The technology exists now that didn't years ago to assist these low-weight and preterm babies to live. And preterm and low-weight babies are more prone to being diagnosed with ADHD. Also now, minority groups who are now being diagnosed with ADHD more than ever have better access to health care. So those cases probably existed before they had access to healthcare, but now the access is giving them the ability to be diagnosed and to be treated. Also, the stigma has disappeared. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, if you were listed with ADHD, the story was, a good smack and you should be able to sit down in your seat. We take it a little more serious now. The stigma has been removed and people are more open to being diagnosed and being treated for having ADHD. Now, we want to take a look at the three types of ADHD that are being diagnosed, and we'll begin first with the predominantly inattentive type. And this is one that can really slide under the radar, one that we don't notice because they are quiet. The students will be quiet and not draw attention to themselves. So some of the things to take a look at for those that may have the predominantly inattentive type. They have problems paying attention to details. They make careless mistakes. They have problems paying attention to academic and participating in social activities. They fail to listen when someone is speaking directly to them. Also problems following directions and completing tasks, organizing those tasks and activities, sustaining a mental effort when they're putting forth work. They also have problems keeping track of necessary supplies, avoiding distractions, and remembering daily activities. All those fall into the predominantly inattentive type. Now we jump to the type that we notice immediately, and that is the hyperactive impulsive type. Now those are the people who have problems keeping their hands and feet still. They can't stay in their seat. They will run or jump or climb in inappropriate situations, constantly on the go. They may talk excessively. They may blurt out answers prematurely. They have problems waiting for a turn, and they will interrupt. So that falls into the predominantly hyperactive impulsive type. And then finally, we have those that are combined. You get a little bit of both with number 3. Now, the characteristics of ADHD. What are we going to be looking for? And this is according to our text. First, we'll talk about executive function. They will have problems with working memory challenges, goal-directed attention and persistent challenges, inhibition challenges, and problem-solving challenges. All those are characteristics of ADHD when it comes to executive function. Now, the intellectual function, most of these students will have an average IQ. Not surprising. They'll have an average IQ, may be a little bit lower than their brothers or sisters by a few points if they come from a family, but most have an average IQ. It is a factor, but not necessarily a disabling factor when it comes to ADHD. Taking a look at academic achievement, well, they will have lower GPAs on the average, higher grade retention rates, and half of those students diagnosed with ADHD will in fact have a learning disability. And finally, we come to behavioral, emotional, and social characteristics, 11 times more likely for defiant disorder. That kind of surprised me. Difficult regulating positive and negative emotions. And one thing that we really need to watch out for is as educators, they'll have few close friends and will experience peer rejection. Now, from the CDC, we want to take a look. Do all the children, all the students that are diagnosed with ADHD, are they going to act the same? Well, we know they won't, just because there's 3 types. There's the extreme hyperactive, and then there's the ones that withdraw. All kids with ADHD are hyperactive. That is the myth. The fact is, according to the CDC, some children with ADHD are hyperactive, but many others with attention problems are not. Children with ADHD who are inattentive, not overly active, may appear to be spacey or unmotivated. And even within those categories, you're going to see a difference from hyperactivity to a low hyperactivity, and those who stare out the window to those who just completely space out and unaware of even what's going on around them. Now, as instructors, we are faced with including these students in our classroom in the social activities that are going on. So we need to, as educators, take these students with ADHD and develop warm relationships. And we need to do that with all students. We know that. We've been trained enough that we already know that. We need to highlight the student's strengths and preferences. Students with ADHD will have strengths, and some of those strengths will be very, very strong. Our duty, identify those strengths and highlight those for them. We need to identify and communicate explicit classroom rules for social inclusion. That means talking to the children in the classroom, making sure that they are including everyone in the classroom as to what's going on. We also need to be aware of students who ostracize other classmates. Of course, that goes on with the ones that we just talked about. Using collaborative instructional strategies, and we need to encourage students with similar interests to share those interests with each other. That way we get those students with the ADHD involved, get them some social skills, and make sure that they are included for that proper education. I think I've got everything answered that needed to be answered on this. A very interesting subject when we talk about ADHD. These are the references, the places that I found all the information that we needed for today's assignment. Again, I'm Larry Gazaway. I thank you very much for taking the time to watch this presentation. Again, it's been my honor to bring this to you, and I hope that you all have a great day. Best of luck the rest of the semester.